I was the crown prince's betrothed. Yet the sixth prince declared he wished to be with me forever. So I fashioned his ashes into an hourglass, keeping it in my chambers ever since. After all, this method was one I learned from him in my past life. I was the crown prince's betrothed. But in my past life, I never married into the Eastern Palace. All because on the Mid-Autumn Festival, I was tricked and fell into a dry well within the palace grounds. The sixth prince fell in alongside me. Alone together, a man and a woman, we spent the entire night in that dry well. Even when we were found the next day, our clothes were perfectly intact. The sixth prince had clearly stated our innocence. Yet my betrothal to the crown prince was still annulled. Even the fact that the sixth prince and I had been trapped together in that dry well all night was spread far and wide. Rumors, by their very nature, distort as they travel. Eventually, whispers circulated that the crown prince had broken off our engagement because of my alleged misconduct, that I had been secretly involved with someone. People dared not speak ill of the sixth prince. As for me, the former crown prince's betrothed, who would care? Even my sisters, whose marriages had been arranged, suffered because of me. Their engagements were broken off. I had planned to enter a convent, spending my days in prayer and solitude. But the sixth prince personally sought out my father, offering me the position of primary consort. At that moment, I believed he was heaven's savior sent to rescue me. Only later did I realize it was all part of his scheme. On the Mid-Autumn Festival, just as in my previous life, the empress hosted a banquet in the palace. All officials of the fifth rank or higher and their families were invited. My father was the Marquis of Chongning and held a position in the military department. Moreover, as the former crown princess consort, I naturally had to attend the banquet. Halfway through the banquet, Ji Qin, a palace maid from the Eastern Palace, discreetly approached me. "Second young lady, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince requests your presence." Ji Qin's voice was hushed. All eyes were fixed on the stage, so no one noticed her arrival. In my previous life, it was also Ji Qin who had summoned me. Since she served in the Crown Prince's palace, I harbored no suspicion. It was precisely this lack of guard that led me into an abyss of no return. Later, my father went to the Eastern Palace to speak with the Crown Prince about this matter. Yet the Eastern Palace claimed Ji Qin had taken leave that day and was not in the palace. The guards on duty at the palace gates also stated Ji Qin had left the palace early that morning. In the end, not only did my father fail to secure justice for me, but suspicion fell upon him, accusing him of attempting to smear the Eastern Palace. I turned my head to look at Ji Qin, a slow smile curving my lips. "Since His Highness the Crown Prince has invited me, I shall accompany you." A man of such dignity and propriety as the Crown Prince, if he truly needed to see me, why would he have someone summon me away in such a public setting? Alas, in my previous life, I never considered these things. The path grew increasingly remote, yet I pretended not to notice. In my past life, I had questioned why we were going to such a remote place. Back then, Ji Qin had said, "His Highness has urgent matters to discuss with the second young lady. If we don't find a secluded spot, and someone discovers us, it could spell disaster. Our people are open-minded, there's no such thing as strict gender segregation. Besides, the Crown Prince and I are betrothed." So foolishly, I believed Ji Qin's words. In a daze, Ji Qin led me once more to this secluded, cold palace. She pointed at the dilapidated palace gate and said, "Second young lady, His Highness the Crown Prince is inside." With that, she pushed open the gate. Not a soul was in sight. Fortunately, it was the Mid-Autumn Festival, and the moon hung large and full, illuminating the area well. My eyes immediately fell upon the dry well that had trapped me for an entire night in my previous life. Ji Qin seemed to casually guide me toward the well. In my past life, It was she who had pushed me in. Her method wasn't particularly clever, but it worked. After all, what better way to destroy my betrothal to the crown prince than to have me spend the night with the sixth prince? But this time, before Ji-chin could act, I pushed her down first. They feared a fatality, so the well was lined with dry straw. Thus, I wasn't worried Ji-chin would come to harm. Miss, my maid, Chunyu, hurried out of the darkness. Simultaneously, Ji-chin's shrieks pierced the air. I glanced at Chunyu and ordered, "Knock her unconscious. We don't need to draw unnecessary attention." Chunyu was a maid my father had specially sought out for me. Her martial arts were quite formidable. But in my previous life, when I came to the palace for a banquet, I hadn't brought her along, which is how someone found an opening. So in this life, wherever I go, I take Chunyu with me. No sooner had I finished speaking than Chunyu leapt straight down. The cries for help abruptly ceased. Chunyu never once questioned why I was doing this. I pointed toward the flower bed nearby. "Let's go there." I wanted to see exactly how the sixth prince fell. In truth, he arrived faster than I'd anticipated. No sooner had Chunyu and I concealed ourselves than the sixth prince came into view. He came alone. Upon reaching the dry well, he glanced inside only once before leaping in without hesitation. A flicker of mockery crossed my eyes. This well wasn't shallow, and moonlight barely penetrated its depths. Before dawn, the sixth prince likely wouldn't discover that the person trapped in the well with him was Ji-chin. Not me. Chunyu and I slipped away silently. After jumping in, the sixth prince remained utterly silent. In my previous life, he had tried calling for help after falling. But this place was so desolate. Not a soul in sight. How could anyone come to rescue us? Perhaps worried I might be frightened, the sixth prince initially spoke to me in gentle, soothing tones. To put me at ease, he never even came near me. And because of this, until I saw his true face, I had always believed him to be a gentleman. "Young lady, should we call for help?" Only after leaving that palace did Spring Rain whisper the question to me. I shook my head. "We never came here tonight. If the sixth prince enjoys staying in the well so much, let him linger a while longer. It's only August, spending one night in the well won't kill him." Soon, the rumor that the sixth prince had spent the night with a palace maid from the eastern palace quietly spread among the nobility. I was the one who had the news leaked. After discovering that the person with him in the well was Ji-chin, the sixth prince secretly suppressed the matter. But rumors like these don't require evidence. When enough people repeat it, embellishing the details, some will believe it. Especially scandals like this. Mother, however, seemed troubled upon hearing it. That palace maid shows such lack of propriety. What of His Highness the Crown Prince? "Mother!" I called out to her. "Ji-chin is Ji-chin. The Crown Prince is the Crown Prince. You needn't worry. Having lived this life twice, I know full well His Highness the Crown Prince is different. The sixth prince is a hypocrite, but His Highness the Crown Prince is not. Yet born into royalty, a true gentleman rarely lives long. I never imagined this short-lived gentleman would appear at the Chongning Marquis's residence. When the servants reported the Crown Prince's arrival, Mother immediately quipped, "His Highness visiting at this hour must be here to see our Zhao Zhao." "Mother!" I pouted playfully. Perhaps His Highness came to see Father instead. Yet deep down, I knew full well the Crown Prince had come for me. From the moment I pushed Ji-chin into the well, I understood he would seek me out. He merely arrived later than I anticipated. This was my first encounter with the Crown Prince since my rebirth. His face was difficult to reconcile with the one etched in my memory. For in my previous life, the last time I saw him, he was no longer the lofty Crown Prince. He was the deposed Crown Prince, confined within the palace walls. No attendants served him. He even had to prepare his own meals. Each day, eunuchs delivered leftover ingredients from the imperial kitchen. How he ate them was entirely up to him. Yet even then, there were still those who could not tolerate his presence. Second miss. The crown prince broke the silence first. I curtsied, "Greetings, Your Highness." "Rise." His expression remained impassive. "I have come today with a matter I wish to seek your insight on." "Your Highness, please speak." The crown prince did not speak directly, but instead cast a faint glance at the guard beside him. The guard immediately understood and led my maidservant out. Only then did the crown prince speak slowly. "On the Mid-Autumn Festival. Was it you?" Second miss. "Who pushed Shi-Qin into the well?" "It was me." I did not deny it. The crown prince paused slightly. After a moment, he said, "Last night, Shi-Qin hanged herself." Shi-Qin's death was something I had anticipated. Knowing the sixth prince as I do, he would never have let her live. Yet I never once considered saving her. In my past life, the suffering endured by me, the Chongning Marquis' household, even the crown prince. It all began when Shi-Qin pushed me into that well. She wasn't the root cause, but she certainly fueled the flames. So even if the sixth prince hadn't acted, I wouldn't have let her live much longer. I met the crown prince's probing gaze and stated plainly, "That day, Shi-Qin said Your Highness wished to see me. Yet she led me to that secluded place." "Your Highness." This servant later sent inquiries. That day, Shi-Qin had requested leave and left the palace early. Yet a maid who should have been outside the palace appeared within its walls, using Your Highness's name to lead me away. What do you suppose was her purpose in doing so? The crown prince's thin lips pressed together. I have not visited the Chongning Marquis' residence today. Nor did the second young lady see Shi-Qin that day. He paused, then added, "Nor did she see the sixth prince." Shi-Qin's death stirred not a ripple in the capital. Instead, the niece from Consort Xian's maternal family sent me several invitations. But I declined every single one. For the sixth prince was born to Consort Xian. And this niece from her maternal family, in my previous life, had become the sixth prince's secondary consort. My repeated refusals earned me a summons from Consort Xian. This time, I could not refuse. Though Consort Xian came from humble origins, she possessed exceptional skill in playing the pipa. She was also a long-serving confidant of the emperor. Apart from the empress, she held the highest standing among the palace consorts. It was precisely this past favor that had secured her the title of consort. "I humbly ask for your forgiveness, second young lady, for summoning you to the palace so abruptly." The consort Xian adopted an exceedingly humble demeanor. Before I could speak, she continued, "The reason for inviting you here today is that there is a matter I wish to trouble you with." I offered a faint smile and replied, "Your Highness may command me as you see fit." In this bloodless palace where murder occurs without spilling a drop of blood, what woman could be simple? Especially since, in my previous life, I had personally witnessed her formidable nature. The consort Xian smiled and said, "My good-for-nothing niece found the hairpin you wore on Mid-Autumn Festival quite lovely and wishes to have one crafted for herself." Her repeated invitations to the second young lady were for this very purpose. The consort hesitated, then continued, "That is why I took the liberty of inviting the second young miss into the palace, to ask for the design blueprint of that hair ornament." Before I could refuse, the consort signaled to her maid. The maid presented a brocade box before me with both hands. "This hair ornament," she said, "is my token of recompense to the second young miss." The attendant promptly opened the box, revealing its contents. The hairpin, crafted within the palace, was exquisitely detailed, no less splendid than my own. I understood clearly that the so-called design blueprint was merely an excuse for Consort Xian to summon me. I offered a faint smile and replied, "Such a minor matter. Your Highness need only send word to the home mansion." Why trouble yourself personally? Since your highness's niece takes such a liking to it, I shall gladly present the blueprint with both hands. Yet I did not refuse the hairpin consort Xian had bestowed. For this hairpin held greater significance for me. Early the next morning, I dispatched someone to deliver the blueprint to the Zhu residence. The maid returned with the eldest Miss Zhu's gift in return. A hairpin, entirely jade green. After that, Miss Zhu extended invitations to me several more times. I accepted only once. Yet it still caused Mother great concern. Mother hinted subtly, Zhao Zhao. Miss Zhu is, after all, consort Xian's niece. And you are the crown prince's betrothed. Becoming too close to consort Xian's niece. It might not be entirely appropriate. It was hardly unusual for the crown prince's betrothed to be close with the daughter of a court official. But this person absolutely could not be the cousin of an imperial prince. Mother, please do not worry. I know my own limits in this matter, I said gently. My friendship with Miss Zhu was not a whim. From the moment she sent me her first invitation, I had already made my plans. Even the consort Xian's summons was entirely within my expectations. In my previous life, I spent decades alongside her. Apart from herself, I doubt anyone understood consort Xian better than I did. Mother sighed softly. She shook her head and said, "You've always been a woman of your own mind. But since you're destined to marry into the Eastern Palace sooner or later, you should also consider His Highness the Crown Prince." Mother didn't state her concerns too bluntly. I hooked my arm through hers and pouted playfully. Mother, I haven't even entered the Eastern Palace yet. And you're already pulling my arm so hard it's about to dislocate. Mother saw I was trying to change the subject. She sighed helplessly. Oh, you. After winter set in, several snows fell upon the capital. A county town 100 li outside the capital suffered a snow disaster. The sixth prince was dispatched by imperial decree to deliver relief. But halfway there, the grain meant for relief was completely robbed. The emperor was furious and dispatched the crown prince to lead a force against the bandits. To make amends for his failure, the sixth prince volunteered to personally raise the funds for the relief grain. I sent someone to the Zhu residence. Early the next morning, consort Xian summoned me to the palace. Does the matter second miss discussed with the Zhu household yesterday still stand? The consort Xian asked me directly. I gave a slight nod. How could this humble daughter treat disaster relief as a trivial matter? A flicker of delight crossed the consort Xian's face. Yet she voiced her doubt. Such a vast quantity of grain, even the sixth prince could scarcely gather it so quickly. How could second miss possibly possess? I offered a faint smile. Among the aristocratic families in the capital, there are many who could provide such quantities of grain. The difference lies in whether they are willing to part with it. Regardless of their willingness, I was more than willing. For the grain that was seized from the sixth prince, I had sent people to arrange it. Emerging from consort Xian's quarters, I unexpectedly encountered the crown prince. He dismissed his attendants and scrutinized me intently for a long moment. His expression complex. After a pause, he asked slowly, "Lu Zhao, I hear you intend to provide the relief grain for the sixth prince?" This was the first time the crown prince had addressed me by both surname and given name. It was clear he was angry. My expression remained composed as I replied, "Yes." His sword-like brows furrowed slightly. "Do you understand what you're doing?" Of course I did. This action would likely fuel suspicions about my relationship with the sixth prince. But I had no choice. In my previous life, the sixth prince had also been sent to distribute relief grain. Yet he secretly colluded with bandits, allowing them to seize the entire shipment. That's why this time, I could seize the grain so effortlessly. Because the sixth prince's men believed the raiders were their own. I lifted my eyes to meet the crown prince's gaze and curtsied. "This humble maiden wishes to annul the betrothal with your highness. I humbly request your consent." The desire to break off the engagement with the crown prince was not a sudden impulse. Ever since I realized I had been reborn, this thought has taken root within me. In my previous life, after I became the sixth prince's consort, Consort Sien would often hint, sometimes deliberately, sometimes casually, at how the crown prince openly and covertly suppressed the sixth prince. At that time, not only did the sixth prince marry me as his consort, but Consort Sien also arranged marriages for my sisters who had been rejected by other suitors. Even though I knew full well that Consort Sien's actions were meant to win over my father, yet I remained profoundly grateful to both the sixth prince and Consort Sien. I spared no effort in helping him advance toward the throne. But the crown prince was a noble man. The sixth prince's followers never found any leverage against him. The only one they could scheme against was me, the sixth prince's consort who had once been betrothed to him. Thus, rumors spread throughout the capital that the crown prince, disdaining his betrothed, had deliberately arranged for me to spend the night with the sixth prince. I knew the sixth prince's men were behind it, yet I was powerless to stop it. It was during another mid-autumn family banquet. The crown prince intercepted me in the palace for the first time. He said, "That affair was not my doing. I have never looked down upon you." His words left me half believing, half doubting. But as fate would have it, someone happened upon us speaking together. The sixth prince went to the emperor to plead his case. The crown prince, however, earned the emperor's rebuke. From that moment on, the sixth prince began to gradually overshadow the crown prince. Framing someone has never been a particularly clever tactic. Whether it's true or false doesn't matter. What matters is how the emperor chooses to handle it. The crown prince's reputation among the common people was too strong. So strong that even the emperor, in the prime of his life, began to fear him. Thus, despite the emperor knowing the schemes of the sixth prince and consort Sien were fabrications, he still gradually stripped the crown prince of his authority. But my desire to annul the engagement with the crown prince stems not from his future potential to incur the emperor's suspicion. It is born of guilt within my heart. In my previous life, I already owed the crown prince a debt of shame. Now, reborn into this life, though the crown prince remains unaware of the events of the past, I know each and every incident was etched into my soul, experienced firsthand. I cannot pretend none of it ever happened. Therefore, I cannot marry into the Eastern Palace with a clear conscience and become his crown princess. He deserves a better woman, and I am unworthy. 3 days later, I personally took the sixth prince to the granary to show him the relief grain I had prepared for him. Eager to make amends, the sixth prince dispatched men that very night to transport the grain to the stricken county. After supper, father and mother asked me to stay behind alone. Father spoke earnestly, "Zhao Zhao, your desire to aid the people is commendable. But you are the crown prince's betrothed. How could he tolerate you growing so close to the sixth prince?" Seeing the worry in their eyes, my heart ached. "Father, mother, there is something I wish to discuss," I said slowly. Mother hurriedly asked, "What is it?" I looked up at her earnestly. "I wish to break off my engagement to His Highness the Crown Prince." At these words, both my father and mother looked utterly shocked. Before they could ask any questions, I gave them a helpless look. Recently, when I was unwell, the physician took my pulse and revealed something. Father pressed urgently. "What was it?" I lowered my eyes. Lying without flinching, the physician said my constitution is frail, and I shall never bear children. Of course, there was nothing wrong with my body, but to legitimately annul the engagement, I needed a reason no one could refuse. For the future crown princess, destined to be empress, to bear no offspring, even if the crown prince could endure it, the court ministers would not. Mother's face turned ashen in an instant. Her lips trembled as she asked in disbelief, "Zhao Zhao, is this true?" I nodded. "His Highness the Crown Prince is a good man. It is I who lack the fortune. The palace is a lonely place. If I cannot have a son or daughter to rely on in the future, how could I endure the long years? Rather than that, I would rather remain in the Marquis's mansion and live out my days as an old maid. I suddenly knelt on the ground. I begged Father and Mother to grant me this wish. Mother hurriedly helped me up. Father sighed and asked, "Is there truly no hope at all? I will summon the imperial physician tomorrow to examine you once more." I shook my head, tears welling in my eyes. Father, if there were even a sliver of hope, would I have come to this? Early the next morning, Father went to the Eastern Palace to seek an audience with the Crown Prince. When I had mentioned my wish to break off the engagement to the Crown Prince that day, he had given no clear response. Now, Father had spoken with the Crown Prince, who knew what they had discussed. Within 2 days, the Empress sent messengers bearing the marriage contract and bestowed upon me a jade pendant. The betrothal between the Eastern Palace and the Changning Marquis' household was thus dissolved. My sisters, fearing I might be distressed, went out of their way to find all sorts of amusing trinkets, hoping to cheer me up. But how could I possibly be sad? Having learned my lesson from the previous life, I never wished to marry in this lifetime, and I certainly did not want to hold back His Highness the Crown Prince. Now, with the excuse of being unable to conceive, I could spare myself much trouble. 2 days before New Year's Eve, the 6th Prince returned to the capital to report. Emerging from the palace, he didn't even pause to rest before coming straight to my Changning Marquis residence, specifically requesting to see me. Knowing his purpose for visiting, I dismissed the attending servants. The moment he saw me, the 6th Prince's expression twisted into something almost feral. Gritting his teeth, he spat. "Lu Zhao, you have the audacity to deceive this prince by passing off sand and stones as grain?" I smiled innocently. "Your Highness, what do you mean? The grain I donated was personally inspected by you. If your Highness feels no gratitude toward this humble servant, that is one thing. But why heap such a grave accusation upon me?" The 6th Prince's face turned ashen. "You know full well what you've done. The grain you delivered to this palace contained only a few sacks of rice on the surface, the rest was all sand and stones. Lu Zhao, do you realize you are committing treason?" I blinked innocently. "Your Highness, could it be that you lost another shipment of grain? So you're trying to pin the blame on me? You." The 6th Prince's eyes bulged with fury. "Even now, you refuse to admit it?" I smiled faintly. "Admit what?" "The grain I donated to your Highness was personally inspected by you." Such baseless accusations, could it be you feel guilty? Regarding the grain donation, this servant has a clear conscience. If your Highness has doubts, we may accompany the Emperor together. Right and wrong will be judged by His Majesty. Hearing this, a flicker of doubt crossed the 6th Prince's eyes. He asked in a tone laced with suspicion, "Truly, it was not you?" I shook my head firmly. "As your Highness stated, this is a grave offense of deceiving the Emperor. How could I dare joke about such a matter? Moreover, I bear no grudge against your Highness. I have absolutely no reason to risk the entire future of the Changning Marquis' household by framing you." The 6th Prince's gaze flickered. After a moment's hesitation, he apologized. "I too was misled by treacherous individuals in this matter, leading to my misunderstanding of you. Second Miss, I humbly ask for your forgiveness. Your Highness overstates the matter." I replied calmly. What the 6th Prince didn't know was that I had indeed orchestrated this affair. The grain I had shown him that day was genuine. However, there was a secret passage beneath the granary. As soon as the 6th Prince departed, I had my men swap the sand and stones hidden in the passage for the grain stored in the granary. To be safe, I deliberately left a small portion behind. This was to prevent any unnecessary trouble when the 6th Prince sent men to transport the grain. As for the grain that was swapped out, I had already ordered it secretly delivered to the disaster-stricken areas, where shelters were set up to distribute soup. Thus, I cannot be accused of falsifying the grain donation. I merely seized the opportunity to outmaneuver the sixth prince. Moreover, I am certain that even if he discovers the grain replaced with sand upon reaching the disaster area, he would dare not utter a word upon returning to the capital. He has already lost grain once before. If he now accuses my donated grain of being counterfeit, no one will believe him. Worse, they'll suspect he's lost the grain again. That's precisely why he's trying to pin the blame on me. He might even face suspicion that his previous grain loss was connected to him. Even if these assumptions prove false, 2 failures will make the emperor and court officials deem him incompetent and unfit for high office. Whichever scenario plays out, the sixth prince stands to lose. That's precisely why I dared to resort to this desperate measure. But regarding this grain exchange, the sixth prince will likely pin the blame squarely on the crown prince. The bandits the crown prince recently crushed were actually operatives of the sixth prince. I deliberately orchestrated the grain robbery to expose the sixth prince's men prematurely. With the crown prince's forces eliminating all the martial artists the sixth prince maintained outside the palace, coupled with the 2 grain losses, the sixth prince will inevitably suspect the crown prince orchestrated everything. Though I'd rather not implicate the crown prince, I could think of no better solution. Shortly after the sixth prince departed, envoys arrived bearing apologies. At the same time, I received another summons from Consort Xian. I deliberately wore the hairpin she had bestowed upon me. Upon seeing the hairpin adorning my head, Consort Xian's smile grew even broader. She inquired with a smile, "The plum blossoms in the imperial garden have already bloomed. Would the second lady care to accompany this consort to view them?" I arched my brows and smiled faintly. "I shall gladly accept your gracious invitation." I discreetly signaled to Chunyu before following Consort Xian into the imperial garden. The plum blossoms she mentioned were ones I had seen several times in my previous life. Viewing them now, my state of mind was vastly different from back then. Yet though Consort Xian was admiring the flowers, her brows remained furrowed, as if weighed down by some concern. Though I understood her predicament, I feigned confusion and asked, "Your Highness, is something troubling you?" The consort forced a smile and motioned for everyone to withdraw. She took my hand, sighed, and said, "By rights, as the former betrothed of the crown prince, I should not speak of this with you. But the sixth prince has been restless day and night. My heart is filled with anxiety. Yet I have no one to confide in. That is why." She paused, casting a meaningful glance my way. "I feigned confusion, from what you've said. Your Highness, the sixth prince's restlessness seems connected to the crown prince?" The expression on Consort Xian's face stiffened. She cleared her throat lightly. "Second young lady, choose your words carefully. I am merely concerned for the sixth prince. When did I say it was connected to the crown prince? As the eldest daughter of our household, you've been cherished since childhood. You likely cannot comprehend the hardships of a prince." I looked up at Consort Xian. Princes are born above others. How could they possibly suffer? Consort Xian's smile turned bitter. "Though His Royal Highness the sixth prince is a prince, he is of a concubine's birth, with the crown prince looming above him and his own stubborn pride. Take this disaster relief effort, for instance." The consort glanced at me and continued, "I don't know who he offended. But first the grain was stolen, and later even the grain second young lady kindly sent was swapped out. To avoid delaying the mission, the sixth prince had no choice but to cover the loss himself. But he is a prince. That grain was meant for disaster relief. Not even ordinary people would dare touch it, let alone another prince. Yet that grain vanished twice." As Consort Xian spoke, tears welled in her eyes. Not only does the sixth prince suffer in silence, but this palace is also filled with worry. Yet we can do nothing. Consort Xian delivered the string of words in one breath. She never once mentioned the crown prince by name. Yet every sentence hinted at him. I slowly let a smile spread across my face and said, "If that is the case, Why not report it to His Majesty? That way, the Emperor can settle matters for His Royal Highness the Sixth Prince. After leaving the palace, Chunyu leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Young lady, I have delivered the letter." I gave a slight nod. No one noticed. Did they? Chunyu shook her head. The guards at the Eastern Palace aren't as formidable as I imagined. I exhaled softly. Better that no one noticed. My compliance with Consort Xian today was precisely to create an opportunity for Chunyu to deliver the letter to the Eastern Palace. But I didn't want the Crown Prince to know the letter came from me. Chunyu hesitated for a moment before finally asking, "If you don't wish to marry into the Eastern Palace, why then?" I glanced at her sideways, thinking to myself, it's not that I don't want to, but that I'm unworthy. Lowering my eyes, I murmured, "I feel guilty towards His Highness the Crown Prince. That letter was my way of making amends. In my previous life, I had already wronged him. And now, because of my scheming against the Sixth Prince, he has been unjustly suspected. If I did nothing, my conscience would never rest. In my past life, on New Year's Eve, the Crown Prince was framed by the Sixth Prince. Forbidden items appeared in the Eastern Palace. As it was New Year's Eve, this ruined the Emperor's mood, and the Crown Prince was confined to his quarters for 3 full months. During this time, the Sixth Prince took advantage to accomplish many things. Now I'm informing the Crown Prince ahead of time. Whether he chooses to believe it or not is entirely up to him. The New Year's Eve arrived in the blink of an eye. While the servants bustled about the mansion, my brother unexpectedly sought me out for a game of chess. Didn't he usually dislike chess? Why then today? I hesitated, words failing me. In just a quarter of an hour, he had already taken back his moves 3 times. As a military commander, my brother possesses a sharp mind. Yet he's never been particularly skilled at chess. But today, he inexplicably sought me out for a game. It was truly odd. Hearing this, he casually tossed the piece he held onto the board. "I'm done. This game is harder than leading an army into battle." His gaze swept around the room. "Everyone, leave." My hand tightened around the piece as a silent sigh escaped me. What was bound to happen had finally come. Only after the servants had left did my brother look directly at me. "Zhao Zhao," he asked, "is there nothing you wish to say to me?" I slowly set down the piece. "Brother, are you asking about His Royal Highness the Crown Prince? Or the Sixth Prince?" My brother frowned. "You have no grievance with the Sixth Prince. Why would you?" He didn't finish, but I understood his meaning. The men who seized and exchanged the grain supplies were borrowed from my brother. Even the task of delivering the grain for disaster relief was handled by his men. Otherwise, as a woman confined to the inner quarters, even with a second chance at life, certain matters would remain beyond my reach. I met my brother's gaze. "Brother, did you know that on the Mid-Autumn Festival, the one who should have been trapped in the well with the Sixth Prince was meant to be me?" My brother's expression shifted abruptly. "What do you mean?" I replied calmly, "Although Zhiqin serves in the Eastern Palace, she is the Sixth Prince's woman. That day, she falsely claimed His Highness the Crown Prince had invited me, luring me to the cold palace. She intended to push me into the well when I was off guard. Sensing something amiss, I acted first and shoved her in instead. Hidden in the shadows with Chunyu, we witnessed the Sixth Prince approach the dry well and leap in of his own accord. I lifted the teacup beside me and took a light sip. "I needn't say more, surely you understand. Brother, had the Sixth Prince and I spent the night together in that dry well, what might have happened the next day?" Hearing this, my brother slammed his fist hard onto the table. "The Sixth Prince? Of all people?" I glared at him. "Who are you trying to impress by banging on the table like that?" He immediately apologized. I continued, "The reason I asked you for men to raid the grain supply was because even if I hadn't done so, the sixth prince would have sent his own men to seize it. My brother's expression shifted slightly. So the bandits the crown prince eliminated were actually the sixth prince's men? I nodded, intending to brush it off with some excuse. But unexpectedly, my brother showed no suspicion about how I knew those bandits were the sixth prince's men. He declared decisively, "No. Since the sixth prince has set his sights on you, failing once won't stop him from trying again. We must strike first." His words left me momentarily stunned. But he is a prince. I hesitated. So what if he's a prince? My brother snapped. And you? You're still my sister. Had I remained unaware, it might have been different. But now that I knew, I couldn't stand idly by. A warmth spread through me. To be honest, brother, I uncovered something recently. On New Year's Eve, no news of the crown prince being confined to his quarters reached the palace. It seemed he had believed my words. As for the sixth prince, his days were numbered. I handed over all the evidence I'd gathered against the sixth prince's faction to my brother. Truthfully, delivering this to the crown prince would have been more effective than having my brother handle it. But I wished to avoid excessive contact with the crown prince and did not want to involve him. Therefore, the task of rooting out the sixth prince's faction fell solely to my brother. Only by first eroding the emperor's trust in him could we truly bring him down. My brother moved faster than I anticipated. After the Lantern Festival, rumors of the sixth prince's factionalism and self-serving schemes began to spread. Most members of the sixth prince's faction held some leverage over him. Now, all that incriminating evidence lay laid out before the emperor's desk. Among these individuals were actually many who were upright and incorruptible. But the sixth prince, in order to gain their support, or rather, to control them, had secretly set traps, forcing even some originally neutral court officials to join his faction. I heard the emperor flew into a terrible rage, denouncing the sixth prince as disloyal and unprincipled. The sixth prince was not only confined for 3 months but stripped of all his court duties. When my brother told me this, I was already planning my next move. After finishing, he added, "Zhao Zhao. Though the sixth prince has lost his power now, if that matter were exposed at this moment, the emperor might suspect it was a deliberate frame-up." I smiled faintly. "Are you worried I might be blinded by this immediate victory, brother?" Having served as empress for several years, I possess the patience required for such matters. My brother visibly relaxed. "We can plan the prince's downfall gradually. There's no need to rush." Resting my chin on one hand, I suggested, "The Dragon Boat Festival would be an auspicious day. Why not choose that date? But before that, I must first deal with Consort Xian." Winter gave way to spring. The weather warmed, and the imperial garden blossomed. The empress hosted a flower viewing banquet, inviting officials and their families. Officially for flowers, but secretly to select consorts for eligible princes. After some time apart, Consort Xian looked rather haggard. She summoned me through her maid. The consort cast a glance at my head and inquired, seemingly without intent, "Why is the second young lady not wearing the hairpin I bestowed upon you today?" I smiled and replied, "I stumbled and fell a few days ago, breaking the hairpin. The craftsmen at the residence are still repairing it. I hope your highness will forgive me." The consort Xian didn't seem to mind. She feigned puzzlement. "Does the second young lady know why the sixth prince was confined to his quarters?" I looked perplexed and replied, "This humble daughter does not know." The consort Xian sighed and lowered her voice. "On New Year's Eve, the sixth prince privately told the emperor that he wished to marry the second young lady as his consort. Somehow, this matter got out." As she spoke, Consort Xian's expression grew somber. "As you witnessed, young lady, within days the sixth prince was unjustly implicated and confined by his majesty." Consort Xian's words made me want to laugh. In her eyes, I was likely nothing more than a naive young lady of the inner chambers. easily fooled by a casual remark. The sixth prince wishes to marry this humble maiden? I feigned alarm. This mother and son truly never miss an opportunity to smear the crown prince. The consort Xian nodded slightly. The sixth prince has long admired the second young lady. It was only because she was already betrothed to His Highness the Crown Prince that he. Now that the second lady's betrothal to His Highness the Crown Prince has been dissolved, His Royal Highness the sixth prince finally found the courage to reveal his feelings to His Majesty. Little did he know he would be set up because of it. Before consort Xian could finish, a lady-in-waiting from the Empress's entourage approached us. Consort Xian, Her Majesty the Empress requests your presence. Consort Xian's willow-like brows furrowed slightly, betraying a hint of displeasure. But she quickly composed herself, offering me a faint smile. I must excuse myself now. Second miss. Please make yourself at home. This humble servant bids farewell to consort Xian. I replied, curtsying. Lifting my head, I met the gaze of the Empress's attendant. She gave an almost imperceptible nod before turning away. Watching consort Xian's retreating figure, the corners of my lips lifted slightly. After today, there would be no more consort Xian in the palace. Consort Xian was a veteran of the palace, having served the emperor longer than any other. Back when I was still the sixth prince's consort, she often summoned me to the palace. Through these encounters, I came to know some of her secrets. For instance, when the emperor was still crown prince, she framed his favorite concubine for adultery to vie for his favor. Or how, when she was still a consort, she obtained abortion drugs from her maternal family, causing several pregnant consorts to lose their children. Over the years, her hands had been stained with countless blood. Since my rebirth, I had been gathering evidence. But consort Xian was, after all, a consort of the emperor. To bring her down, I needed allies. So I privately sought an audience with Her Majesty the Empress and presented all the evidence I held. When the Empress was still the Crown Prince's consort, she had lost a child. The mastermind behind that tragedy was none other than the current consort Xian. The flower viewing banquet concluded abruptly. That very night, consort Xian was stripped of her title and demoted to noble consort. Though the emperor did not take her life, I knew her days were numbered. Early the next morning, I donned the hairpin bestowed by consort Xian and disguised myself to visit the sixth prince's residence. He remained under house arrest, and someone had to inform him of consort Xian's demotion. Using that hairpin as my credential, I successfully gained an audience with the sixth prince. The moment he saw me, astonishment spread across his face. Utterly unmasked. Second miss? I smiled faintly. I heard from consort Xian that your highness wished to marry me? The sixth prince paused. Then a smile touched his lips. I intended to inform second miss personally. But my mother, the Empress Dowager, spoke first. He lifted his eyes to meet mine, his expression earnest. I have long cherished second miss. I only hope to wed you, to be united forever. I toyed with the hairpin in my hand. Your highness still has the heart for romantic pursuits? Could it be you're unaware of last night's events in the palace? The sixth prince's expression shifted abruptly. What occurred last night in the palace? He demanded urgently. I replied slowly. Consort Xian plotted against the imperial heir. The evidence is irrefutable. She has been stripped of her title, demoted to consort, and even her nameplate has been removed. In other words, barring any unforeseen circumstances, she will never have the chance to see His Majesty again in this lifetime. What? The sixth prince's eyes widened. That's impossible. If your highness doesn't believe me, you can always send someone to inquire. I paused deliberately before continuing. Last night's incident caused quite a stir. Even the common folk in the capital have heard about it. There's no reason for the people in your highness's residence not to know. The sixth prince's eyes turned bloodshot. Guards. I turned to give him one last piercing look before leaving his residence with light steps. His greatest support now was Consort Sien. But with her downfall, I doubted he could remain seated. At supper time, the man I'd sent to watch the sixth prince reported back. The sixth prince stormed the palace gates and was ordered by His Majesty to receive several strokes of the cane. This incident has now spread throughout the capital. I lifted my eyes to my elder brother and smiled faintly. Brother, the rest is in your hands. My brother gave a slight nod. I have already made arrangements. In the blink of an eye, the Dragon Boat Festival arrived. Last night brought thunder and lightning, with rain pouring down all night. A clap of thunder struck and destroyed the sixth prince's estate on the outskirts of the capital. A farmer from the estate discovered a set of dragon robes beneath the collapsed walls. Fearing it might be evidence of a rebel's plot, he secretly took the robes and risked his life to rush through the palace gates, pleading to see the emperor. The emperor, already furious over the sudden loss of sight in his right eye, saw the pristine dragon robe and his rage boiled over. Since the robe was found on the sixth prince's estate, he was summoned to the palace for questioning. At the time, the sixth prince vehemently denied any involvement, claiming it was a deliberate frame-up. My elder brother murmured softly. What happened next? I pressed. My brother held an official position, making his access to the palace far easier than mine. Though I longed to witness the sixth prince's downfall firsthand, I could only hear the account through him. Later, someone proposed that the sixth prince try on the dragon robe to see if it fit. If it did, it would prove the robe had been tailored specifically for him. If it didn't fit, it would prove someone had deliberately framed the sixth prince. I lifted my teacup. That dragon robe must have fit perfectly. It was prepared by the sixth prince himself. How could it not fit? He had coveted that throne for years. Yet his ambitions remained unfulfilled. So he secretly stored a dragon robe within his estate. In my previous life, it wasn't until after he ascended the throne that I learned of his long-held ambition to seize the throne. He kept that dragon robe in his bedchamber, admiring it daily. But this time, it would become his death warrant. But even if it fits, it could still be someone else's deliberate frame-up. Did the emperor just believe it? I asked again. My brother pointed to his right eye. This morning, the emperor suddenly lost sight in his right eye. With these two events coinciding, His Majesty won't delve deeper. My brother seemed to suddenly grasp something. He looked at me with puzzlement and asked, Zhao Zhao, did you know all along that the emperor would lose sight in his right eye today? So you. I smiled without answering. Seeing this, my brother did not press further. In my previous life, on the Dragon Boat Festival, the emperor's right eye inexplicably lost its sight. This incident had nothing to do with the crown prince. Yet the sixth prince subtly pinned the blame on him. This only deepened the emperor's distaste for the crown prince. But this time, everything was different. At the sixth prince's estate, the imperial guards discovered something else. The emperor summoned the Imperial Astronomical Bureau that very night. He remained in the imperial study for a full half-hour. That same night, the sixth prince was granted a 3-foot-long white silk sash. A prince of the blood. Yet after death, he was denied entry into the imperial mausoleum. My elder brother personally took action, secretly retrieving the sixth prince's body and transporting it deep into the mountains. When I arrived, the pyre for burning the sixth prince's remains had already been erected. This matter was too grave to share with others. My elder brother looked utterly helpless. He's already dead. Why must you grind his bones to dust? I tossed the torch into the woodpile. Unless I grind his bones to dust, I cannot ease the hatred in my heart. My brother sighed softly and whispered, I found a dead prisoner whose build resembled his and secretly placed him in the tomb. Thank you, brother. My eyes stung with tears. Though this was an act of treason, my brother never hesitated for a moment. Turpentine was poured over the pyre, and within moments, It blazed fiercely. I watched with my own eyes as the sixth prince's remains were reduced to ashes. Only after the flames died down did I retrieve the tools I had prepared and gather a portion of the ashes. Seeing this, my brother asked in puzzlement, "Zhao Zhao, what are you collecting this for?" I gave my brother a faint smile. "It has its uses." I fashioned the sixth prince's ashes into an hourglass and placed it within the sleeping chamber. In my previous life, after the crown prince's death, the sixth prince never let him rest in peace. He burned the crown prince's remains to ashes and fashioned them into an hourglass. Alongside the imperial dragon robe he had hidden at his estate. He kept it in his bedchamber, admiring it daily. I was unaware of this at the time, assuming only that he held the hourglass in special regard. It wasn't until the 4th year of his reign, when he accidentally shattered the hourglass in his drunken stupor, that I learned its contents were the crown prince's ashes. I wiped the hourglass made from the sixth prince's ashes. Not long ago, he declared he wished to be with me forever. Now, it seems his wish has been granted. Miss, word has just come from the Empress's maids that His Majesty is near death. They ask you to prepare. I set the hourglass down, have the servants remove all brightly colored ornaments from the mansion. As compensation for the crown prince, I undertook one more act. The new cook in the imperial kitchen was someone I specifically sought out for His Majesty. His dishes perfectly suited the emperor's palate. But food, it can fill the stomach, or it can take a life. The more the emperor cherished that chef, the faster he would meet his end. In my past life, I failed the crown prince. In this life, what I can do for him remains limited. The emperor was never benevolent, the crown prince ascending the throne sooner is, in a way, a blessing. 3 days later, the emperor passed away. As the heir apparent, the crown prince had been entrusted with regency during the emperor's illness. Now that the emperor had passed, the crown prince was naturally elevated to the throne. During the period of national mourning, the aristocratic youths of the capital kept a much lower profile than usual. Chun Yu would occasionally venture out to gather news. As for me, I would take the hourglass from the inner chambers out to polish it every day. Though the sixth prince could no longer hear, I persisted in telling him everything that happened outside each day. One day, as I was polishing the hourglass again, fourth sister rushed in, breathless, bearing a newly acquired piece of fabric for me. "Second sister," she exclaimed, "I hear this is tribute cloth from a neighboring kingdom. It's absolutely exquisite. I'll have the embroiderers make you a new gown with it." I lowered my eyes to examine the fabric fourth sister had brought. "How much silver did you spend on this?" Her expression instantly turned hesitant. She swallowed hard and stammered, 100 taels. I sighed in exasperation. "You come from a marquis's household. After all, don't you realize tribute goods would never fall into a merchant's hands? My fourth sister is wonderful in every way, but she's a bit naive. If she ever had a few taels of silver, she'd be swindled out of every last one within 3 days." Fourth sister fumed. "I thought I'd snagged a bargain. Who knew that merchant was a swindler?" She tossed the fabric onto the table. "If I ever see him again, I'll have brother send him straight to the magistrate." I chuckled and set the hourglass in place. With 100 taels in his pocket, he'd likely vanish from the capital for a while. Fourth sister looked at me, hesitating to speak. I said gently, "If you have something to say, speak." Fourth sister stammered, "In 2 days, it will be His Royal Highness the Crown Prince's coronation ceremony." If second sister hadn't broken off the engagement with His Royal Highness that day, once you were married, you would have been the Empress. The smile on my face faded slightly. Perhaps I simply wasn't destined for that fortune. I took fourth sister's hand. "But now that His Highness the Crown Prince holds a different status, let us not speak of past matters. It would only bring trouble upon the Marquis's household." Had it not been for the events of my previous life, I would still have hoped to marry him. But the world knows no what-ifs. On the day of the crown prince's coronation, a guard from my elder brother's retinue came seeking an audience. "Second miss. The person you sought, I have brought him to you." "Have you brought him back to the manor?" I asked urgently. The guard replied, "I have placed him in the eldest master's courtyard. Would the second young lady like to see him?" "Bring him here," I ordered. Ever since my brother learned of the sixth prince's affair, I had entrusted him to find someone for me. This person was an orphan, with no parents. Judging by the time, he should be under 10 years old now. In my previous life, my brother once saved this little beggar's life. Later, when the Chongning Marquis' estate was destroyed and I was trapped in the palace, it was this very beggar boy who collected the bodies for the Marquis' household. When I saw the little beggar, the servants had already bathed and dressed him in clean clothes. But he was so frail that the clothes didn't quite fit him. "Chunyu, fetch the seamstress. Have her take the young master's measurements and make him a few sets of clothes." The little beggar didn't seem afraid when he saw me, just staring at me with curious eyes. I beckoned him over and said, "This is the Chongning Marquis' residence. If you're willing, this will be your home from now on." Without hesitation, the little beggar bowed his head to me and said in a clear voice, "This humble one thanks the noble lady." I was speechless for a moment. "Rise," I said. "I'm not much older than you. From now on, you may call me second sister." The little beggar immediately stood up. "Greetings, second sister." I had a courtyard prepared for the little beggar and informed my mother of my wish to adopt him. Mother decided to take him in as her adopted son. Thus, the Chongning Marquis' residence gained a young master. Everything seemed to be moving in a positive direction. Yet I never anticipated receiving an imperial edict from the new emperor. I couldn't quite make out what the eunuch delivering the decree was saying, for I had been bestowed the title of princess by the new emperor. This development was so unexpected that I was momentarily speechless. "Princess Zhao Hua, receive the edict and express your gratitude." Hearing the eunuch's words, I finally snapped back to reality. "This humble maiden thanks His Majesty for his grace." Mother promptly slipped a pouch into the eunuch's hand. I lowered my eyes to the imperial edict in my grasp, a slow smile curving my lips. Others might not have known, but I recognized it instantly. The calligraphy on this imperial decree was identical to the new emperor's. Side story. On the Mid-Autumn Festival, the crown prince unexpectedly discovered that a maid from his palace had led his fiancé, Lu Zhao, away from the banquet. Fearing Lu Zhao might encounter trouble within the palace, he instinctively followed. His trail led him all the way to the secluded cold palace. He witnessed Xiqin attempting to push Lu Zhao into a dry well. But before the crown prince could intervene, he saw Lu Zhao instead shove Xiqin down the well. It happened too quickly. The crown prince stood outside, utterly dumbfounded. His marriage to Lu Zhao had been arranged 3 years prior. Throughout those 3 years, he had always thought his fiancée was too gentle and submissive. The crown prince had never imagined she possessed such a decisive side. "Young lady," Lu Zhao's maid, Chunyu, emerged from the darkness. The crown prince instinctively sidestepped into concealment. Immediately after, he heard Lu Zhao command, "Knock her unconscious." "We don't need unnecessary attention drawn here." The crown prince's face twisted with suspicion. But the real shock was yet to come. He watched Lu Zhao lead her maid into the shadows. Then his sixth brother arrived at the same spot. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaped directly into the dry well. The crown prince was no fool. Given this scene, what could he possibly fail to understand? Xiqin, the musician in his palace, had been his sixth brother's man all along, and his dear sixth brother had been coveting his betrothed. Or rather, he coveted the Chongning Marquis' estate behind Lu Zhao. From that day onward, The crown prince secretly stationed spies to monitor Lu Zhao's every move. He knew the sixth prince well. If one scheme failed, he would surely devise another. Lu Zhao was his betrothed. Whether he liked it or not, he had to protect her. Soon, rumors spread among the capital's nobility that the sixth prince had spent the night with a palace maid. The crown prince knew Lu Zhao had orchestrated this. Yet he found nothing wrong with her actions. Lu Zhao was destined to become empress. If she allowed others to walk all over her without fighting back, how could she ever command respect among the palace's treacherous creatures? Far from disliking Lu Zhao for this, the crown prince secretly stoked the flames. Soon after, Shi Qin hanged herself. Worried Lu Zhao might slip up and incur the sixth prince's resentment, the crown prince paid her a visit, deliberately testing her. He hadn't expected Lu Zhao to be more open and straightforward than he'd imagined, and far more intelligent than he had anticipated. Thus, he withdrew the spies monitoring Lu Zhao. He feared that one day, should Lu Zhao discover the surveillance, she might mistakenly believe he was spying on her. He and Lu Zhao were destined to spend their lives together. Therefore, he wished to avoid any misunderstandings. The sixth prince was assigned the task of leading a relief mission out of the capital. But the convoy transporting grain had barely left the city when it was ambushed and plundered. Lu Zhao had proactively offered grain, resolving the sixth prince's urgent crisis. The crown prince was not one to be easily swayed by emotion. Yet upon learning of this, he still felt a twinge of displeasure. So he intercepted Lu Zhao and demanded to know if she understood what she was doing. To his surprise, Lu Zhao replied, "This servant wishes to dissolve the engagement with your highness. I humbly request your consent." The crown prince was utterly stunned. Then he fled in disarray. Though angered by Lu Zhao's initiative in gifting grain to the sixth prince, he had no intention of dissolving their betrothal. Yet Lu Zhao's unusual behavior still aroused the crown prince's vigilance. He secretly dispatched men to investigate the matter. Upon closer scrutiny, they discovered the grain robbery was somewhat connected to the Changning Marquis' estate. Seeing the evidence, the crown prince's first instinct was to shield Lu Zhao. Knowing Lu Zhao well, he understood she must have had her reasons. Sure enough, while leading a campaign against bandits, he discovered that the mountain bandits were actually men under the sixth prince's command. These men had originally received orders from the sixth prince to ambush the grain convoy. But how did Lu Zhao know the sixth prince's men were planning to ambush the grain? Upon returning from the campaign, the Marquis of Changning came to seek an audience at the Eastern Palace. He said, "Zhao Zhao is frail. The imperial physicians have declared she will never bear her own offspring in this lifetime. Therefore," this servant thought, "has the Marquis of Changning come today to annul the betrothal?" The crown prince cut him off. He knew the matter of offspring was merely an excuse Lu Zhao wished to use to break off the engagement. Yet he hadn't anticipated Lu Zhao would deceive even her own father. Yes. The Marquis of Changning made no denial. The empress consort cannot remain childless. The crown prince stared at the marquis, suddenly stung by anger. What was so lacking in him? That Lu Zhao would rather lie than marry him? For a fleeting moment, the crown prince considered exposing Lu Zhao's deception. But recalling her expression that day when she'd asked to dissolve the betrothal, he held back. If this is what the second young lady desires, then I shall grant her wish. Forced fruit never tastes sweet. This truth he had understood since childhood. Lu Zhao entered the palace once more. At the same time, the crown prince received a secret letter. The handwriting was unfamiliar, yet its contents sent a cold sweat down his back. Someone had hidden contraband within his palace, intending to expose it on New Year's Eve. He burned the secret letter. The crown prince had no time to ponder who had sent it. He immediately ordered his trusted men to search covertly. Sure enough, they found several items of contraband hidden in secret places. Though he was already the crown prince, his brothers still coveted that position. The emperor suddenly fell ill. The imperial physicians were helpless. Within mere days, he passed away. As the heir apparent, the crown prince ascended the throne as expected. On the eve of his coronation, the empress summoned him. Only then did the crown prince learn from her what Lu Zhao had done for him. He couldn't fathom why Lu Zhao would aid him while simultaneously seeking to annul their betrothal. Yet if it was Lu Zhao's wish, he was willing to grant it. Later, rumors even spread that the crown prince had broken off the engagement because of my misconduct, secretly consorting with another. A flicker of surprise crossed the empress's eyes. You truly have no intention of bringing her into the harem? The crown prince shook his head. Lu Zhao does not wish to marry this son. This son will not force her. But should she ever wish it in the future, even if she were first infeft as a princess and later became empress, there would be no objection. Yet the crown prince left these words unsaid. He did not wish to cause Lu Zhao any further distress. He was the crown prince. After tomorrow, he would be the new emperor. Every word and deed of his could be subject to excessive interpretation. Since that is the case, then so be it. The empress waved her hand, deciding to let it go. Returning to the imperial study, the crown prince personally drafted the edict conferring the title of Princess Zhaohua upon Lu Zhao. Only after the ink had dried did he carefully store the edict away. With this title of princess, even if Lu Zhao never married, she would have a position to rely on. His conscience was clear. The end.